Hi guys, this is Per from Damasteel. I'm outside Todd Begg's knife shop in Petaluma, California. We're going to play a bit with acids and try to etch the Damasteel. Here's Mr. Todd Begg. We are at his shop and we are going to do some Damasteel etching trials.
I'm going to clean it again before we etch it, but where I'm cleaning it right now is just where the mask is going to be. In this case, it's going to be a paint.
Yeah.
And so I want that to be very clean area so that the paint will stick without any problems. This is what I like to use for masking off the steel when I'm using muriatic acid, because we used to use only this for ferric chloride fingernail polish. It's not strong enough, it burns it away, so we have to set that aside and use this only in ferric chloride and use this tougher paint marker to mask everything off for muriatic acid and sulfuric acid. Mask it where the bearings go. I'll mask it inside where the pivot goes. Make sure everything is covered where you don't want texture. In this case, the detent track over here. This contact surface where the lock contacts the lock ramp. We don't want that. Matter of fact, I'm going to paint that whole surface. That pool up in there so I know it's nice and covered. If I have any doubts at all if it's thick enough, I'll just put another coat. I'll just put a little bit more on there just to make sure that it's thick enough, and try to get the coating as even as I can, just to keep the peace of mind that the acid's not going to get through it or under it and destroy my contact surfaces, my bearing surfaces. So once I'm satisfied that I have enough paint on there, then I'll let it dry. So we've gone through, we've masked our blade, and I've let all that paint dry. So now I've got some stainless steel wire that we're going to actually suspend the blade with, and we're going to be able to pick it up and down. You can see I'm wearing gloves now because I don't want any finger oils to touch this blade. And so now now that the paint's dry, I'm going to clean this thing entirely with Windex, which works really good to just get all the oils and fingerprints and everything else off that, and you have to get every bit of it clean. Windex. Make sure you get your periphery of the knife wiped down really good. Of course, this knife isn't finished. This is for demonstration purposes. So normally every one of these surfaces here would have a mirror polish, but we're just at a kind of a coarse satin finish at this point. But the process is the same either way. When you're heating up acid and working in these things, you want to use as much personal protective gear as you can. Should be wearing a respirator. There should be either an vent hood or outside. I'm right by a big bay door with a fan moving, so that's why I'm doing it indoors. But typically you're going to want to, as much ventilation as you can, as much personal protective equipment as you can, respirator, glasses, and gloves. So here's our muriatic acid that's in a double boiler. The water's hot right here. It's about 160 degrees. You can see the acid's beginning to steam. So I'm going to put this in here, and then I'm going to watch the bubble formation that it starts to create. Within a very short time, it'll start to fizz. You can see the bubbles coming up to the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch these bubbles that come to the top, and it's going to concentrate more and more and more bubbles. And what that's doing is, by the time one of the alloys is fully etched, and then it wants to start to etch the other alloy. And what I want to do is I want to stop that right before it goes all the way and starts etching the other alloy. The bubble formation is getting pretty intense here. I need to really look at it, and it looks like I've still got a ways to go, but see how it's really darkening the one alloy. With this type of acid etch, you're not really going for much of a topography. You're not going to get a lot of depth in the etch. we're just going for a colorization. And like I said, typically this blade would be mirror polished, so you see the contrast of this mirror against this dark gray or blackish etch.
I can tell you it looks more beautiful in real life.
It's difficult to capture the actual appearance on video or photographs even. Put about that much. I'm going to neutralize it now in a baking soda. So I'm going to let this drip off of here. I'm going to go straight into this baking soda water solution and just neutralize the acid. So this is about 2 or 3 minutes in the Muriatic, just to give it this nice color. Didn't really give it any depth. You can barely feel anything with your fingernail, but definitely had the colorization going on.
But this would give you a ready-to-go knife as it is now.
It would. It would. If this was the finished product, normally it would be a higher finish here. The satin finish would be mirror polished, but in this case it's just kind of a rough, maybe a 320 grit finish. But you can still see there's a lot of beauty in that. Now we're going to submerge this in my ferric chloride and vinegar solution. See if we can darken up this this finish some. So I'm just going to suspend that in there for several minutes, and then I'll check it. This is ferric chloride and vinegar mix, 50-50. So that seems to work better for the stainless alloys than just straight ferric and water. That's better for carbon alloys. It's been my experience. So I'm gonna soak it in here for a couple minutes, look at it, see if it's actually darkening the one etched alloy. And so what we're trying to do is darken it more. And so we'll try that, neutralize it, and then see where we're at. We've been in this solution for just a couple of minutes. We're going to pull it out and see what kind of contrast we have now. And I think that speaks for itself. So I'm gonna neutralize that. So now you can see that there's quite a bit more contrast. That ferric chloride and vinegar solution really went in there and darkened up that other alloy.
Look at that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yep, even here, these are the parts that people overlook. These are the difficult sometimes to etch parts. These little spots here. And look at the contrast we got on that. Unbelievable.
So what do you think about the Damasteel and etching?
The Damasteel isn't any more difficult to handle as far as etching. It's just different. You have to mask it different, give it a little bit stronger mask, and it's another step. You go into muriatic or sulfuric, one of the stronger acids first, and then you just use ferric just to darken it, just to get some color. As knife makers, we're used to doing everything in ferric chloride, but it doesn't work quite like that with Damasteel, and it's well worth the extra effort, because the steel is just so much more superior than most of the things out there on the market. Well worth the extra effort.